Good morning. Today's video blog is going to be one of several blogs that cover the ledger import process. This particular video should be relatively short, as we will be reviewing the simplest way to run a ledger import, which is the process of importing using a previously mapped definition. When your site was implemented, it is likely that you were given a ledger import template that was already set up with pre-established mappings. The ledger import template that you were given at implementation probably looked something like this. Then when you want to enter data into the system, you probably just change the values, the transactional values in that template, and then you click the load definition button and you're off to the races. That's all that it takes. In one of the other videos in this ledger import series, we talked about how to map an import from scratch. And we set up that import as the appropriations import, and we named the definition appropriations. So we're going to upload this information that I have on my spreadsheet now, and we're going to use that mapping, the appropriations mapping, even though this is not an appropriations upload, and we'll talk about how we can rename that. So what I'm looking at here is a ledger import template that has been set up with the transactional data that I want to upload into the system. Now this looks different than the ledger import template you've probably seen and used before, but it is basically the same. It has the same fields in relatively the same order, and it's going to work just fine for our purposes. Okay, so I'm going to the add-ins and I'm going to select my data send process, and here's the interface. I will click load definition, and because I saved this as an internal definition before, I'm going to choose that internal definition, and I'm going to choose JV mapping because that's what I want. I want to upload this JV. And here is all of my information. And as you may have seen in a different video that covered mapping for ledger imports, all of these fields have already been predetermined. And I just want to double check to make sure that they're correct. This is particularly important if I work at a place that has more than one business unit, for instance, and I want to be sure that I'm uploading this into the correct business unit. I want to be sure that I have an error cell. And here on the ledger import header, I want to just check my various fields. Here I've mapped this for today. And this description can be anything you want. It's just a way to identify this file on the ledger import control desk. All of these other fields look fine to me. I'm going to double check my ledger import data details to be sure that they are correct, and sure enough they look good. I'm going to check my LID. There is a 2 in every row that I want to upload. Here are my analysis codes. They look good. And if I go down to the bottom, sure enough there are my currency codes. I can go to the Options tab and I can save this as an external definition if I want, but there's a template there. So I'm just going to save it as that. And now I click OK. This is overriding data that's previously been saved into the mapping, so I'm going to say OK. And it has transferred 8 records into the Sun Systems 5 control desk. So I'm going to click OK and that will disappear. And I will go into Sun Systems 5 now to find the ledger import side of the process. And I'm going to have to search for it. Ledger import. There it is. Okay, here is my ledger import control desk. There are 2 files waiting for the process to be completed. And this first one, the journal reversal and copy, has found errors. It was previously run and it was determined that there were errors in the data, so the import did not go through. So that is there to be reviewed later. But here is the file that we just uploaded. Notice the description. Once again, that description just helps me find that file in this list, and I will click Review. I'm going to notice that here is my file correctly selected, and I will choose the Ledger Import Process from the Batch Process field. And I'll click OK. It's clunky, but it works. I can review. Sure enough, there are 8 entries in this file, so yeah, that's the one that I want. I can look here if I want. It's going to post by Ledger Entry 3, which is Ledger Analysis 3, which is what we want. It's going to Ledger A and post if no errors, so that looks good. and I'm going to click the process button. At this point, there's going to be a delay while the system validates the data. And voila, it posted. That was really fast. So I get this question message informing me that the run was successful and no errors were found in my data. Do I wish to reproduce the report? And I'm going to say no. Had there been errors in my data, then yes, I would have wanted that report. But since it's fine, I'm going to say no because I know that I'm going to get this journal listing. And I get an information message every time telling me that the batch program completed successfully. I would get this message even if the ledger import had not actually been posted into the ledger because of errors in the data. And all this is telling me is that Sun Systems worked through all of the various steps in the ledger import process and it successfully completed its process. So the fact that this completed successfully does not mean that your data has been posted in the ledger. Down here in the lower left corner of the screen, I will see my journal number and the journal voucher number for this particular posting. I can click Exit here, and here, if I click the refresh button, my file will disappear from the control desk's list of journals that are waiting for the process to be completed. And I can click Exit and leave the ledger import process. See, now wasn't that an easy way to import your data into the system? If you have a really big import, this is really handy because then you don't have to enter each of the lines one by one. Thank you for coming with us on this journey through the ledger import process.